Hi, my name is Alexis Hotra, and this is my first year in the Life Design Lab. I honestly had no intentions of taking this class until I heard that it was a requirement for STEM. All of my friends who took it in previous years told me how easy and laid back the class was. Once I heard that I had to make a project on my own with nobody truly supervising me and giving me constant direction, I started to worry. I had never been confident and comfortable in doing schoolwork without a true direction. When it finally came time to start, we were told to pick a project that meant something to us that we would be working on for the remainder of the year. I went through many different ideas of projects that I could possibly pursue. However, I quickly realized that I didn't resonate with any of these projects, and I would most likely be unsuccessful if I were to keep going with them. Some of these projects consisted raising awareness for issues such as cancer and trying to perfect different baking recipes. After meeting with Mr. Daly and Mr. Madden, they continued to encourage me to find a project that I could relate to. They had me think of different times of my life when I had experienced something that I felt would be a topic to make a project around. Once I was pointed in this direction, I was finally able to find something that meant something to me. As a kid, I had to have different tests done in hospitals. Some of these tests required staying over at the hospital. I remember that during this time I was always so bored and was only able to leave my room for a short period of time every day. Sometimes there would be nurses who would bring me small activities to keep me occupied. Receiving these were super helpful and helped to briefly ease the boredom. During one of the times I was in the hospital, I received a box with stuffed animals, coloring books, and other arts and crafts from a local Girl Scout troop who put them together for kids in the hospital. Since there were so many options in the box, I was able to continuously make things which kept me entertained. I instantly knew that this would be the project that I wanted to do for my time in the Life Design Lab. I wanted to be able to give other children the same experience that I had. It is a well-known fact that being in the hospital can be very boring, especially as a young kid. I chose to make my project making activity baskets for kids of different ages in the hospital. Once I was fully committed to this idea being my project, I had to think of a place to start. I thought this would come naturally to me since I was so confident in my project, but it didn't. I seemed to be stuck whenever I tried to do something for my project. My first thought was to research some examples of baskets that had been made and donated. When I began my research, I was quick to realize that there were some other people who had made these in the way that I thought of making mine. However, most of the ones that I found were expensive. I wanted to be able to donate them to the hospital so that other families could receive them for free. As I continued, I would jot down notes as to certain items that I felt would be important to include in the baskets. However, I found myself stuck again once I completed that stage. I didn't know how else to make progress in my project. I decided that I would then try to reach out to the hospitals and see if they had any possible suggestions for things that they knew children would enjoy to have in the baskets. It took me several days to find who to contact to help me. I began by going through local hospital websites and emailing them and asking who and where to reach out to. I ended up waiting a few days and got no response. I decided that the best thing for me to do would be to call them. I had never been a fan of calling people on the phone that I didn't know. It was something I always dreaded doing. I built up the courage to push myself and call. Once I called, they were able to give me a list of people I would be able to try and contact. After receiving these contacts, I was quick to reach out. This time, I received responses quicker. Within less than a week, I was able to share my idea with a child life worker at the Gorib Children's Hospital in Morristown. She was super helpful and supportive. She told me that most of the things that kids would enjoy were coloring books, activity books containing word searches, crayons, markers, and stuffed animals. I was excited to finally be pushed in a direction that was helpful to my project. During events such as feedback nights and critique night, I would gather information from other people of all ages. They would give me more specific ideas as to what I would include in these baskets. I got ideas of including things like fidget toys and more. My next step was to raise money. I had to think of different ways that I would be able to fund the baskets since I had to buy all of the supplies on my own. I decided that I would make a GoFundMe page to raise money. I advertised this at the Life Design Nights and through family and friends. However, I faced a lot of unexpected challenges, things I hadn't even thought about when I started. Some of these challenges included hospital rules, budgeting, and figuring out where and how to donate. I had to learn to do deeper research and problem solve in ways that I hadn't before. One of the first major challenges was hospital rules. I assumed I could just donate anything fun and creative, but hospitals have strict guidelines. Everything had to be brand new due to safety reasons. Some hospitals didn't allow stuffed animals or anything with small parts that could be a choking hazard. I had to completely rethink what items I could include in these baskets. Another challenge was figuring out where to donate. I thought hospitals would be eager to accept these baskets, but some had strict donation policies. Some only accepted donations at certain times of the year. I had to research multiple hospitals, call and email different departments, and be patient while waiting for responses. Funding was also a challenge. I didn't realize how quickly the cost of supplies would add up. At first, I thought I could just buy everything myself, but I soon realized that wasn't realistic. I had to look into other options, such as fundraising, asking for donations, and finding stores and organizations that might be willing to contribute supplies. The biggest thing I learned was how to do deeper research. At first, I was only looking at general information that I found online, but I quickly realized I needed more than that. I had to reach out to people such as hospital staff and find anyone who would be able to help me with my project. I learned how to ask better questions and find the specific information I needed to make my project successful. I also learned patience and flexibility. Some of my original ideas didn't work and I had to change them. I had to wait for responses which sometimes took days. I had to adjust to the fact that things wouldn't happen instantly. This project taught me that different challenges come with everything. Lastly, another lesson I learned was how to manage my time. I had to learn how to balance the time that I took to complete schoolwork and the time that I took to complete my project. I had to figure out when to prioritize certain things, whether it be for my project or for my schoolwork. In the end, I was able to continue to make progress towards my goal. This project showed me that just because something seems simple at first doesn't mean it would be easy. But with research, patience, and problem solving, it's possible to turn an idea into reality. Thank you.